Good. It was fun. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's kind of like I told you last night. It was fun. It's different not being with all the guys in the room and the camaraderie of it. But we still kept it pretty loose and fun on our Zoom call, and my family being here, made it really special. I think you saw that throughout the league. With families and their kids and all. Look, they sacrifice a lot for us, and time away from home, and all of us at the office on crazy hours and things we miss, and for them to be a part of that will this weekend will last them the rest of their lives. So I'm very appreciative and thankful for that. And how about the NFL raising over $100 million in the relief efforts? I thought that was just tremendous, and shows sometimes what adversity does. It brings people together. It brings our country together. And it's going to bring the world together. And that's why we'll overcome this. And that's why we'll get through it. We'll do it together, and we'll help others, and we'll serve others, because that's what we're supposed to do. All right. For the draft, we're excited. We had a great weekend. Our guys worked their tails off to get this thing lined up right. And we think we acquired players that are going to help us win and be good Colts here in the future. Fire away. Let y'all have at it.
All right. Mike Chappell, go ahead and start.
Chris, you told us last night, or maybe it was early this morning, that the first 3 rounds, it wasn't the right time for a quarterback. Why was pick 122 right for a quarterback?
That's a good question. So we spend a lot of time lining this board up. I brought it up today. Say, look, we're, once we'll take a couple of days, and then we're off to 2021 draft. That's what we're going to be working on. So we spend all this time lining the board up, and we don't force it. We put them to where we think their value is for our team. And at that point, Jacob was on the board and was at the right value where we had him placed, and that's why we took him.
Kevin Bowen for Frank Reich.
Frank, what attracted you to Jacob? He mentioned some one-on-one time you guys had, maybe over Zoom or something, about pass protections and going over some of that stuff. But what was your kind of one-on-one interaction, and what do you see on film?
Saw a guy who has all the physical tools to play the position, size, strength, really good arm talent, can make all the throws to all spots on the field. For a big man, I think he has some athleticism to him. Not that he's a scrambler guy. I think he's a pocket passer, but has athletic ability to move, and just think, he's still young and developing in the position. He doesn't have a lot of miles logged in one respect. So could have came back another year, but really we get a chance to, he gets a chance to compete with Chad and see if he can continue to develop. But we certainly saw some tools there that I think that he has some of the qualities it takes to play at this level.
Okay, Zach Kiefer for Chris Ballard.
Chris, what was the discussion like with Eason at the 4th round spot? Was it long? Was it difficult? What was the deciding factor?
Yeah, it was. We had. If you know our group, I told them, it's funny, about 15 minutes ago we got off, and I told them all, matter of fact, they're still on, having a good time at each other's house. I told them, I said, one of the things I love about these guys is they're going to tell me what they think. They don't hold back, and you have to have that to get to the right answer. So it was entertaining. It was definitely lively. But at the end of the day, we had Jacob ranked higher than the other players, so we ended up going with him.
Okay, Joel Erickson for Coach Reich.
Hey, Frank.
Joel.
With Jacob as a person, maybe not so much as a football player, do you kind of take into account just how he's kind of had to be in the limelight his entire time since high school, 5-star recruit, all the stuff at Georgia, everything?
Yeah. I mean, we take everything into account, and playing this position right at this level, you need to be able to handle that. So, I think Jacob is still young in his journey along that way. Has had some ups and downs, but what was so good about the process was we did spend a fair amount of time with him, so that you personally get comfortable with somebody. You get comfortable with them as not just as a football player, but as a person. You talk to them, you dig deep, you try to figure out what makes a guy tick. And so at the end of the day, felt like we were able to spend enough time with him to feel that way.
Okay, Jim Aiello for Chris Ballard.
Chris, a pretty simple question is, do you think Jacob has the ability to develop into a building block? You said you wouldn't force it unless you felt like this was the guy that, could become that.
Well, he's got talent, but there's a long way to go. He still hadn't even put on a Colts uniform. And like any of them, they got to earn it. Right now he's competing with Chad Kelly. Phillip Rivers and Jacoby are our first two, and Jacob and Chad are competing for the 3 spot. I mean, let's slow our roll a little bit in terms of, tagging this guy as the next Messiah walking into town. He was a 4th round pick. We didn't move up to the first pick of the draft. Jacob's got talent. He's got to work, and he's got to earn it.
Okay, Stephen Holder for Coach Reich.
Frank, regarding Jacob, we talk about arm talent all the time. When you're drafted in these middle rounds, the guys aren't perfect, but how much does the arm talent factor into his potential to succeed, I guess?
Yes. Okay. I think his arm talent was probably the best in the draft as far as the quarterbacks go. He can throw, and what I liked about his arm talent is, he can throw it on a rope. He can throw it long. He can throw with touch. He can change the speed on the ball, and he can deliver from different arm angles. The accuracy was fine. He needs to get better. His footwork needs to get better. Reading through his progressions needs to get better. There's a lot of things that need work, but physically, he has a lot of the tools. But we all know that playing this position is a lot more than physical. So that's why we spent some time with him, as far as the meetings and protections and just trying to test the mental acumen of this position and try to get an idea of, how they think as a quarterback. And we would do that with anybody. I mean, we do that. I talked to multiple quarterbacks, during this process, and it was the same process with every one of them. And so Jacob did a nice job. And, but like Chris said, there's still a long way to go. There's a long way to go, but we're happy to have him.
Okay, Kevin Bowen for Chris.
Chris, when you look at the defensive line right now and Jabal being gone and him being such a rundown guy for you in years past, do you think Danico or Tyquan could play out there? Or how do you look at D-end?
Look, I mean, Danico, Muhammad, I love Danico and I love Muhammad. We still got Teray, we still got Banagoo. It's a good group. We still got Tyquan. I like our front. We got young players. They got to come on. We drafted them for a reason. Let's see them play and come on. And all of them have played pretty good football in spurts. Now we got to get them to do it a little more consistently. But we like their talent, and we like our defensive line. We think we got a good group.
Okay, George Bremer for Coach Reich.
Coach, just from an offensive staff standpoint, having a young quarterback in here and getting 2 young wide receivers and a running back at the same time, how exciting is it to bring them in and let them kind of grow together as a unit?
It's great. I mean, we love it. And the way these rooms roll, I mean, it's close-knit. Every room's close-knit, and we're all working together. But in the quarterback room in particular, the way it works is it's like this. The starting quarterback, it's his room, and we focus our preparation on the starter, on getting him ready. And then we take extra time. Marcus will take extra time. Nick will take extra time. I'll take extra time, with Chad, with Jacob, as the process goes, with those guys, we'll have additional meetings with them. But once we get into training camp and we get full bore, I mean, it's you really got to get ready for the season, and it's all about getting the starting quarterback ready to play. And for us, that's Phillip Rivers. And so, but it's great for guys like Chad and Jacob to be able to take that all in and then follow up. And it's really engaging, really tight knit. You have to be. It's a tight room, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay, Phil B. Wilson for Chris.
Yeah, Chris, Jacob was asked about, among other things, desire at the combine. He gets picked today. Mort goes on TV and says, work ethic, accountability, things that were red flags for other teams. How much is any of this a concern? Is it fair, unfair to question things like this about him?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little unfair. There's leaks, sources. Nobody wants to put their name on it. We did a lot of work on him. And he understands, I promise you, Jacob understands. I've had a visit with him today when I called him. He understands the expectations that we have here. And I think y'all have seen. I mean, he's got to make the team. I don't 4th round pick. I mean, still got to make the team. So if he works and hits his potential, he'll be on the squad. I mean, I don't think it's been any different any year I've ever been here.
Okay.
Quick, if I could follow real quick on something else.
You're good with these follow-ups.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. You always get your follow-up. That's all right.
Well, I'm afraid I won't get back in. You made 2 more trades today, added 2 more players. Anything stand out about those moves, or thoughts about boosting your draft class to 9 guys?
Yeah, that's really good. So yeah, sometimes you want. I mean, I talk about this all the time. You want as many darts at the board as you can have. And we think we acquired, with those trade backs, we were able to get a couple extra players that we thought, have a chance to really help us. We think Jordan Glasgow has got top special teams ability in this league. He'll play linebacker for us, but he's got a chance to be a really special core special teams player, and those are hard to find. And then also being able to, acquire Rogers and Pittman. Pittman is a big wideout. We liked him. And then Isaiah Rogers, he's got rare speed. And he's an explosive returner, and he takes away the ball. So to be able to get those extra picks and have a chance to, we thought we were going to have a chance to acquire them, gave us the opportunity to do it.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Wells for Coach Reich.
Hey, Frank, how you doing? I want to ask you about Pittman at wide receiver. Yep. Obviously, when you being offensive coach and you look at what you had at the wide receiver spot between T.Y. and Paris and Zach, just how you envision using a guy of Pittman's caliber in your offense.
Yeah, we're very excited about getting Michael Pittman now. I mean, like Chris said, this was a team effort, but he was a guy who I think there was really strong consensus on by everyone in the room from day one. This was a guy that we had targeted. He adds, I always talk about receivers. There's kind of 4 factors into, you got to feel a receiver's power. And so we see Michael as being an X receiver, being the kind of guy you can line up and go one-on-one with. And the really 4 factors that go into that are size and strength, and then speed and quickness. And, and it's those combination of 4 things that go into a receiver, that's what the defensive back feels when he comes off the ball. And Michael's got size, he's got strength, he's got good speed for his size, and then he has what we call good body quickness. He's not a jukey receiver like the small slot receivers you're saying, but when you have a big man who has good body quickness, that presents a problem. And then he has very excellent ball skills, really good feet for a big man. Sometimes you get a big man and they win one-on-one matchups just by out-muscling people. Michael has good enough feet and good enough technique and skill that he's a good route runner. So, we think that he can develop. It usually takes receivers a little bit of time, but we think he has the maturity and the skill to develop probably faster than most, but it still will take some time. But we're excited about that. You got to have guys, like a T.Y. Hilton, who can be your dog. He can be your guy, your go-to guy. And Michael needs to develop into that for us. That's our hope. That's our vision for him.
Okay, we'll go a few more. Mike Chappell for Chris Ballard.
Chris, you made it clear last August that sometimes your best plans go astray all of a sudden with a quarterback retiring. So much after you draft a quarterback, even in 4, that all of a sudden you're going to dump Jacoby Brissett. As you sit here, do you envision him being your backup next year?
Yeah.
For what reason? Because you need a proven one.
Yeah, because we think he's a starter in the league. Jacoby's continuing to get better, and he'll continue to get better. And everything Jacoby stands for is what we believe in. He's a great teammate. He's a freaking works his tail off, and he's performed. I know Jacoby has taken some hits, but some of them are unfair. And look, maybe some of them are unfair by me too. I might not use the right words at times. I think y'all all understand how I feel about this young man, but he's a special kid. He's a valuable member of the Colts, and we're lucky to have Jacoby Brissett.
Okay, Joel Erickson for Coach Reich.
Hey, Frank, you've had a running back by committee before. How confident are you in your ability to use both Jonathan and Marlon and Naheem and Jordan and all these guys you guys have at running back?
Yeah, really confident. And you're right, Joel. We do it by committee. I think sometimes you do it by committee, but everybody has their emphasis. Everybody knows Naheem is kind of our go-to scheme-up pass guy. We do some unique things with Naheem. Jordan has been our number 2 back, but and he's done a very good job. Now with Jonathan into the mix, I really envision that it'll be Jonathan and Marlon really being that 1-2 punch. They're really being the 1-2 punch. When you look at good teams over the years, it's a long season, it's a grind. And when you run the ball as much as we run it, it's really good to be able to change that up. And I think their styles will really complement each other very well. Marlon has that great vision. He can run that outside zone well. He can search, and then he can accelerate in the hole. And then you got a guy like Jonathan. He has the size and the speed to be able to have good vision. And when he hits it, the nice thing about Jonathan is how do we, as Chris and I and the staff, we all sat down, how do we add explosiveness to this offense? Jonathan Taylor is an explosive player. With that size and 4.3 speed, we want to turn those 10-yard gains into 50 and 60-yard gains. And he can now, both he and Marlon can add that element to our offense.
Okay, Zach Kiefer for Chris Ballard.
Chris, you talked about last night when you sat down with your personnel staff after the season, certain areas you wanted to get better at, Buckner and Rivers, and we saw what you did this weekend. How do you feel about all that now, about where you got better specifically and where you still think you got some areas you want to improve on before the season gets here?
Well, Buckner speaks for himself. Buckner's a star player. Phillip speaks for himself. He's a future Hall of Famer. Adding explosive weapons on offense for our staff to use. Adding, some competition in the secondary, especially with Xavier Rhodes and Carey. Adding Blackman to the mix. We think, look, do we get everything accomplished we wanted to? No. Every team in this league's got holes. And it's not perfect, and that's why you work through the season. But we think we've done good work. Now we got to prove it. It's like anything else. All right. So now we've got the team, and y'all know us well enough. We're still going to have some tinkering as we go along, and even into the season. But now we got to work and come together and earn it each and every day. That's what makes this so unpredictable and also special for those reasons. good moves, bad moves, on paper, it doesn't matter. You got to go earn it and prove it and work each and every day.
Okay, last two here. Kevin Bone for Chris Ballard.
Chris, Danny said, he played tackle at Ball State, but then did some interior stuff, I think at the NFLPA game. Where do you kind of see his best fit at the next level?
I love Danny Pinter. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We were trying to move up to get him. I probably won't ever give y'all as much insight, but for like 30 minutes we were trying to move up and just couldn't get up to get him. First exposure for me was at the NFLPA game. That's where I got sick. And then, coming back, he has an unbelievable workout at the combine. Then we continue to study him. Now answering your question, look, do I think he could play some tackle? Yes, but center guard is where I think he's going to make his hay in the league. You want to talk about character. This guy's got blue character. And he fits our culture and has the traits we look for in offensive linemen.
Okay, last one here. Mike Wells for Chris Ballard.
Hey, Chris, considering who knows when we'll be talking to you again this offseason. You guys reportedly have picked up the Georgia kicker, the undrafted kid. And with Chase on the contract, does that give an indication on where things sit with Adam, or should we not read too much into that?
No, first thing is I don't, until we get everything done with undrafteds, I won't comment on that. No, I still got to have talks with Adam.